Chris Thomas here, 30-second fly fishing tips. Today we're going to talk about flies that we use for bass fishing. Typically you use a little bit different flies for bass than you do trout. Trout have a tendency to just sit in a location, and the food comes in the giant conveyor belt called a river, brings the food to them. Bass, they're a little bit more of hunters than trout are. They will feel something hit the water with their sensitive nerves on the side of their bodies, and they will actually hunt it out. Now, I typically use three kinds of bigger deer hair flies. In the evening time when the sun's going down, I fish right in the brush. I try to use flies that have weed guards. A couple of my favorites are something like a wiggle bug. Looks like almost like a rapala. Swims like a rapala. They work really well. I've always loved deer hair mice. Deer hair mice are awesome for bass, and when bass take deer hair mice, it's generally a huge take, and it's really a great take. But just something like a deer hair mouse there. And then the other thing that I typically like are frogs. I fish in a place that's got lots of small frogs, and I take my son out there occasionally, and if you look at some of the videos, we throw frogs in the pond and the bass come and take them, so we use deer hair frogs. You know, you just get where you have confidence in certain things. You can use poppers, work really well. Different size poppers. Smaller poppers sometimes work better. I've used atomic ants. I've used stoneflies. Bass will take a lot of things. They are not picky generally. The only thing you have to remember is that when you use these big hair deer hair flies, use a heavier tippet because they have a lot of wind resistance, and to flip them over takes a heavier tippet. So about a 5 to 7 foot leader with anywhere from 0x to 1 or 2x on the end to the tippet would work really well. A couple other things I use when I fly fish for bass are I use articulated streamers, which work really well. I like them a lot. I make sure they have rubber legs. When it comes to bass fishing, there are certain things you should look for in flies. Flies that have eyes work really well. Flies that have rubber legs work really well. Flies that have some kind of built-in action. Again, this is an articulated streamer, so it's split in half. Flies that have a little bit of red deer hair in them around to show injury. Just general movement and mass to create a little bit of a look of some protein for a mouse. When your life depends on how much protein you can catch in a year, if you think you can catch something just a little bit bigger with a little bit more protein, you'll be right after it.